I've got notes in front of me that says everybody's got 10 minutes. And apologies. So, David, could we ask you to speak for about 6 minutes?
6 minutes? Let me just begin by saying that this can't express to you really in words how important it is, how nourishing it is for a member of Parliament like this to be talking about a subject like this. And I know that Dawn shares that. In fact, because I was a little late and Dawn was getting worried, because we would stand together as fellow MPs, she texted me and said, "Where are you?" This is an important subject. You can't represent an area like Tottenham and not have people approach you and raise the most acute of issues in relation to, if you like, the black community. And that is this problem of knife and gun crime. And what are you doing about it? I'm pretty hard-headed with that response, because beneath and behind gun and knife crime, I think, and I've said this before, that there are 5 important factors that get us to a place where a young man would pick up a knife or a gun and take somebody else's life. They are education, employment, aspiration, parenting, and community. The reason we are here is government can do very little about parenting. Government can do a lot to encourage aspiration, working with people such as yourselves. Government can do a bit to foster community, but a lot of that's down to us in this room. Government can do a lot about education, but education does not just begin at 9 and end at 4. It continues afterwards. It goes into our homes. And government, of course, can do a lot about employment. But I remember when I became a father for the first time, and I was talking to my older brother about what it meant to be a father. And he said to me, look, never forget, the most important thing you can do for your son is get up in the morning, put on your suit, go to work, and come back and be with your wife. This is important stuff, because across all of those areas, there are profound challenges for us, and real reasons why that made their journey from Africa to the Caribbean and then that connection back here. And when I see some of the behaviour in our community, frankly, it shames their memory. The notion of baby father is unacceptable. It is unacceptable to believe that it is ever appropriate to have numerous girlfriends with whom you could have numerous babies and not be involved. Unacceptable. Some of our notions about masculinity and the appropriateness of violence or machismo or macho is inappropriate, and we need to put it to one side. The role of faith, and in the absence of faith, if you haven't got faith, I have, as you probably know, values, real values, values of honesty, integrity, decency, standing by your family, and if not your family, your brother's family, and if not your brother's family, family down the road. These are quintessential values to community. They're the values that have made our community so profound. We are still here, despite some of the terrible things that have dogged us throughout history. But in this year, after the commemoration of the abolition of the slave trade, we need now to get a grip of these issues that come back to parenting and community. Now, there's another context, and that context is I know many black men doing great things in relation to their sons and their families. They're in church, they're at parents' evenings, they're kicking a ball with their sons, they're working hard, they're doing all of those things. You won't read about that in the newspapers. You won't see it on television. I'm afraid it is the burden of being a minority, a real minority in our community. So it is more incumbent on us to be really clear about the importance of fathers in our community and their role not just to their own children but to other people's. To be assertive about what it means to be a mentor and a role model. That does not mean that you have to be perfect. It does not mean, my mother would disagree with this, but I'm going to challenge that notion. It does not mean that you have to be 10 times better. We can't all be 10 times better, and we're certainly never perfect all of the time. But it means that every day you get up, you keep trying. It means that you understand the realities of fatherhood in the 21st century. You know, I see some of our young men hanging out literally on the street. They are hanging out. They're hanging out of their clothes. Clothes that, you know, you could fit a house into some of this stuff. You know, the bling. I'm afraid that, you know, that isn't going to get you an apprenticeship probably. And really it's for parents to set an example. And against teenage rebellion and all the rest of it, and I did the same. I used to have a little earring. It came out quickly and I was too scared to really pierce the hole through. These things are important. And right from what you present to the world, our community has to be engaged. We have to be there, communicating the importance of these messages. So, what I believe you are about is integrity, is honesty, is a value system, is being present, is being there, is trying every single day. And in the end, that is what being a parent is about, whatever culturally specific issues in relation to the black community. There really are. There has to be. Half of our children in this community, and actually among some parts of the black community, it's as much as 3/4, are in a single parent home. And I do not disparage single parents. I grew up in a single parent home. But it makes it incumbent upon us to ask why that is. And some of that is culture that has to stop. And where it is happening, because inevitably there will be relationships and marriages that break down, that we are there. We are there for our nephews and cousins. We are there for the neighbour. We are communicating something about the importance of family. And sometimes, you know, sometimes the way that fathers reach out to their sister's children or to their sister if she gets pregnant, the way they feel about the guy who got her pregnant seems to be completely in disproportion to the way they feel about when they're in that situation. This is paradoxical. This is insane. We need to do something about it. And I applaud your effort is sometimes having to speak truth to community. So when asked what's the government doing about this, the government of course has a job to do, but we as members of Parliament, as leaders in our community, we stand shoulder to shoulder with you, with faith groups, with civic groups who are trying to make a difference. And we challenge majority, we challenge the media particularly, to understand that silly banner headlines like the problem with black men and gun are unacceptable. Why? Because how many of you in this room have ever seen a gun? Have ever held a gun? I certainly haven't. So why do we get silly headlines like that? That, by definition, make it even harder for young men and community as they're seeking to move forward. I'm being told to stop. I can talk about this. But I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to have you here, and that you're here in this seat of power. You pay your taxes, I know that. This is your parliament. This is your building. You paid for the furniture, so make sure you come back.